Good afternoon. Thanks, Ron Kimball, for a very gracious introduction. Thanks to Judge Costangi, who I think back in March asked me to do this, and I thought at the time, well, certainly the General Assembly will have adjourned, and I can give you a report on what's happened in Raleigh, and we're not quite there yet, so still a lot of work to do in Raleigh. But I did want to start on a serious note, and that is just a brief word of remembering a great North Carolinian that passed away yesterday, Governor Jim Holshouser, the first Republican governor since 1896 when he was elected in the mid-70s. A great North Carolinian leader for education and for healthcare across the state, and I know you join all of us in Raleigh and certainly the governor in remembering his family in our thoughts and prayers during this time. I believe the memorial service will be Friday, so remembering Governor Jim Holshouser. I'd like to start these presentations by saying I'm from state government and I'm here to help you. And let me clarify my role if I could. My role is to advise the governor on issues around economic development, energy, and to provide strategy, consultation to him for those kind of things. As Ron noted, his last 4 years at Duke Energy before he retired to run for governor in 2008, I was his boss. And since I joined the transition team in November and then the administration in January, he has been my boss. And paybacks are hell. I'll just say that right up front. My first day in the Capitol, and my office is down the hall from his, he stuck his head in the door and said, "How many jobs have you created today?" And I told him one, mine. And he said, "That doesn't count, that's public sector. You need to be creating private sector jobs." So, the governor, in fact, is speaking as we sit here today at the Winston-Salem Rotary Club. So we're out trying to cover the Rotary, great Rotary clubs today. And I asked him a little bit ago when I talked to him on the phone, what do you want me to tell this great Rotary Club? And he said, tell them first what a great team we've assembled in Raleigh, and I think you probably know many of those cabinet members. They have, most of them, a private sector background and just have a great perspective on what needs to change and be improved in state government. And then he also wanted me to tell you that state government, as you've heard him say already, is much more broken than we ever thought. And we're incrementally making progress, and one of his key pieces of legislation has been approved now by the House and the Senate, and that's the Strategic Mobility Fund to change how we allocate dollars for transportation improvements and enhancements across the state. We're very excited about that, so the governor probably will be signing that this week. What I'd like to talk to you about is the economy of North Carolina and specific things we're trying to do short-term and long-term to improve it. And let's just talk about the challenge at hand, if I could direct you to the slides for a few minutes. You all know our unemployment rate for the state dipped in April to less than 9% for the first time in, I think, 4 years. We are the 5th highest unemployment rate in the nation. Our underemployment rate, which bothers me even more, is 17%, almost 1 in 5 North Carolinians not in a job that fully utilizes their skills or working part-time and want to be full-time, etc. And then when you look at the long term where our economy is, and you see that we rank 37th in per capita income, which, ladies and gentlemen, is a measure of the prosperity of our people, of our 9.5 million citizens. And North Carolina ought to be doing better than 37. I'll add to this some recent data points that came out from the U.S. Department of Commerce just in the last week or two, and that is our gross state product grew 2.7% in 2012. That puts us 11th in the country, 3rd in the Southeast behind West Virginia and Tennessee. And then in the last 10 years, our poverty rate has jumped from 26th worst to 12th worse. And so 1.7 million North Carolina citizens live in poverty, and 1 in 4 children, 1 in 4 kids in North Carolina lives in poverty. It's just not where we want to be. So is anybody in this room satisfied with those results? No, none of us are. And so that's what we have come to in state government, and the question is, what are we going to do to change it? I want to show you one more data point, and that is our per capita income for the state compared to the Southeast and compared to the United States over the last 7 or 8 decades. And if you look at the bottom there, the decade 2000 to 2010, North Carolina actually lost ground or lost per capita income compared to the slow growth in the Southeast and the United States of America. That is really bothersome. And certainly, many of you know, perhaps all of you know, that there are a couple of things behind that. One is the fact that we lost during this decade between 3 and 350,000 manufacturing jobs in the state. And the other thing is we are a net in-migrator, if you will, of people from other states. North Carolina's population has risen not only by organic growth, but also by the fact that more people continue to move here from other states. And lots of thoughts about why that's happening, but that in fact is what's going on. So what are we going to do about this? You know these individuals. We have terrific state leadership when it comes to growing the state's economy. I have already seen the governor probably in 40 different economic development meetings with either existing business and industry that want to grow, or either new companies that are thinking about coming to North Carolina and making investment and creating jobs. He is on his game. He is just terrific, just like he was those 14 years as mayor of Charlotte. Secretary Decker has a great vision for where the state economic development organization needs to go to help us get out of this, start creating jobs like we haven't done in the last 4 or 5 years. So very excited about what she is doing, and I'll talk some more about her vision. Well, top priority, and believe me, there are some very important meetings going on in Raleigh as we sit here and stand here around this whole issue of tax reform. Our approach and our goal is to get North Carolina's personal income tax rate and our corporate income tax rate down to where we're at least competitive with our neighboring states. Well, let me show you what we look like. So if you look at the middle column there, our personal income tax rate, here we sit with actually a 7.75 top marginal rate. And you look across at South Carolina and Virginia, and you've got Virginia there with a 5.7% rate, 2 percentage points less than where we are. So we have a goal of getting our top marginal rate down to where it's less than or equal to Virginia. The corporate tax rate on the bottom there, we're here at 6.9. Both of these rates are the highest in the Southeast. We need to get that down to where we're at least equal to or competitive with South Carolina. We think the way to do that is not by making all North Carolina small business people and medium-sized businesses tax collectors for sales tax. We don't think that is the way to do it. We think the way to do it is to eliminate some loopholes and eliminate some exemptions that are out there, and to help make up the revenue that would be lost through bringing those rates down. We're getting I want to report to you this today, that we're getting very close to an agreement with the Senate and the House and the executive branch. We're not there yet. We've got more work to do, but there are active meetings going on this week, and I certainly hope by the end of this week, certainly next week, that we'll have a tax reform plan that makes North Carolina more competitive. We absolutely need to do it. We need tax reform that's fair, that simplifies it as much as possible, that is pro-growth, and certainly makes us more competitive with our neighboring states. Anyway, I'll look forward to your questions maybe on that and other things, but a very important topic and certainly a top priority right now in Raleigh. Regulatory reform is another thing. The governor has challenged all of us in state government, both the cabinet and the senior staff. We need to establish a culture of customer service. He expects that. We're trying to do that. When you call us, we're going to return your phone calls. When you send us emails, we're going to respond to your emails, respond to your letters. We're going to help businesses and individuals work through the regulatory problems that they may have been used to encountering in the state. Great example is the Department of Environment and Natural Resources. John Scavarlo, the new secretary, has come in and he is bringing that culture of customer service to that organization in a big, big way. We had a furniture company up in Davie County, North Carolina, that the first week we were in office came in and said, you know, here I am buying an old R.J. Reynolds tobacco manufacturing plant and the land that goes with it, and all of a sudden I'm told I have a wetlands problem. And so what am I supposed to do about that? It's holding up me getting into production, and the opportunity cost is a couple $1 million a month. And so John got on it. He told his water quality people, his air quality people, we are going to help businesses work through the permitting process. We're not going to throw up roadblocks. We will make sure that good environmental science is upheld, but we're going to do what we need to do to help them work through the permitting process. And that is happening, and I'm really, really proud of what he's doing. There are some active bills working through the legislature, and I'm sure Natalie's aware of, that are focused on regulatory reform, and we can talk about that if you like to, but we need to make sure that we're helping business grow and create jobs in the state. Let me talk about Tony Zeiss's favorite subject, and that's workforce development and strengthening K through 16 education. As the governor went campaigned last year, and since he's been in office, he asked executives, are you able to find the qualified workers that you need to staff, to fill your vacancies and to staff your business? And invariably, he continues to hear that it is a problem. He had the chief operating officer of a major truck assembly manufacturer that has 4 facilities in North Carolina in his office about 2 months ago. And he asked that COO, he said, are you able at your 4 plants to find the workers that you need? And the answer was no. I've got vacancies I can't fill. And we asked, well, what are those vacancies? And it's machinists, and it's electricians, and it's welders, and it's those craft positions that we're not able to fill and find. And it's no reflection on our community college, which is terrific and the best in the country. But what we have is a disconnect when you look at our employment security offices, our job link offices, our career readiness centers, and our training, getting the unemployed worker to the right training and matching them up with the job. We really need to take a hard look at our workforce development system, and we've had an expert come in and spend a couple months doing that. And after we get through this July 1 change to the employment security benefits and all that goes with that, we're hope to start making some reform, creating some reform and doing some good things there. But this is a big issue and something that we're committed to solving. Let me talk about small business for just a second. 98% of the businesses in North Carolina are considered small, less than 500 employees. They create 2/3 of the jobs in the state. And what are we doing as a state to enable entrepreneurs to start small businesses? Terry, what have we done to help you start your business? I hope we haven't thrown roadblocks in your way, but I'll tell you one thing we found early on in our transition process was we looked at Virginia, and they've got this website. Any entrepreneur can go on the website, find out exactly what they need in terms of business license requirements, permitting, and that kind of thing. And North Carolina does not have that. It tells you to call a 1-800 number. Well, we have driven out the business requirements for that portal, and we're going to have that live by the end of this year as our information systems folks are driving it out. Another thing we need to be helping small business with is export. How do you export your products? How do you find markets for your products? And we've got some good things going on there and looking forward to that. This has been the biggest aha for me in economic development in the state, because I'm an old industrial economic developer. That was my background at Duke Energy. But the potential we've got around venture capital, around startups, around company formation, around taking the great research that's in our universities and creating companies and jobs out of that is huge. And the governor brought in 18 venture capitalists, some from Charlotte, some from the Triad, some from the Triangle, Wilmington, and had a luncheon, 2-hour luncheon back in early May, and asked them the question, what do we need to do to improve the venture capital capacity in this state? And got great feedback, whether it goes from tax reform, like eliminating the capital gains tax on founder stock and qualified business ventures, or whether it's in the whole area of the public and the private universities working better together to make sure that we can take that research, do the tech transfer work and commercialize it and create companies, to smaller things about what makes North Carolina cool so we can attract the young people here, the IT talent, the life sciences talent, and the young people that want to come here and be a part of companies like Peak 10 and Red Hat and Cree, and those that just some years ago were just, backroom startups. And look what they are today, just fantastic successes. So we've got a set of initiatives going on around increasing that. And finally, let me stop on this one and then take your questions maybe. And this is the whole opportunity with our Department of Commerce. So during the November-December timeframe from the election to the inauguration, the governor asked 12 different advisory teams to come in and be a part of looking at state government, what we need to do around the people part, the organization, processes and systems, those kinds of things. How can we improve things and make state government more effective? Certainly start driving the job creation engine like we need to in North Carolina. And the group that looked at the Department of Commerce listened to what the current secretary said, who did a great job, brought in some site consultants and said, how is North Carolina viewed in the marketplace? And heard some really interesting things from them, both good and bad. And then went and started talking with other states. Well, how does Virginia go to market? And how does Florida go to market? And how does Indiana go to the marketplace? And we came back with the fact that if we took our State Department from a public State Department with the State Personnel Act governing how we deal with employees, and we moved it to a public-private partnership, much like our regional partnerships are set up and many of our county economic development organizations are set up, that we could really put in place a first-class sales and marketing organization that would move with the speed of business, that could leverage some limited public sector dollars with some private sector dollars, could get more private sector energy, wisdom, and counsel focused on how we do economic development in the state, bring all these disparate groups underneath one plan with one set of marching orders, and I'm talking about groups like the Biotechnology Center and the Rural Center, Golden Leaf, the regional partnerships, all of these that are out doing all their things and creating confusion in the marketplace, bringing them all together under one strategic plan. And we're kicking off the Economic Development Board a month from today. John Lassiter, your John Lassiter is the chair of that, and Jim Whitehurst, the CEO of Red Hat, is the vice chair. And they're gonna drive out these last 6 calendar months of the year a new strategic plan, a 10-year plan to grow North Carolina's economy, focused on job creation, attracting investment, rewarding productivity, and those kind of things. So very excited about what we can get out of this new public-private partnership. We think once the legislation is approved, and I'm hopeful it will be in the next 2 weeks, we can get that public-private partnership up and running by January the 1st. Virginia has this. Florida has this. Indiana, Ohio, Michigan, Missouri, Utah, and Arizona. So there's a number of states that have already been down this path, and we have been able to learn from them. You know, where did you stumble? Where did you fall? Where did you have to pick yourself up? So we've got a great set of lessons learned, and I think with Secretary Decker leading the charge, we can make a lot of progress with this. It would bring under that public-private partnership all the recruitment, expansion, and retention activity and resources. All the entrepreneurship and small business work would be there. It would bring in the international trade group, and we've got an opportunity to improve there when it comes to international trade. It will bring in the tourism and travel group, perhaps at a later time, still working through that. But anyway, I really think our state is going to be better organized, better resourced, and better equipped to go to market and have some excellent job creation and maintain our fiscal responsibility going forward. So why don't I stop there and just see what questions you've had. I put a whole lot out there, so anxious to hear from you, your thoughts, questions, concerns. I think you raised your hand first.
Touch briefly on the